The digital revolution in India has had a massive transformation in payments. Like many other industries, payments in India have witnessed a boom and innovation like no other country over the past few years. From being a primarily cash-driven society, we are now more into the digital payments space. India is witnessing a growth of startups and fintechs in India, and you have, in a very short span, you have unicorns like Udaan, like PhonePe, and you have also BharatPe as one of the unicorns. Welcome to the APAC Partner News video series in Lisbon, where we are kicking off our second edition of PayTech event. I am Nimish Swaroop, Global Sales Director for PPaaS and Channels. Today I am excited to welcome Shashwat Nakrani, founder of BharatPe. BharatPe is one of the world's fastest growing fintechs. Started in April 2018. Within 3 years, Dealcom.com estimates its valuation to be almost $3 billion. To talk more about this journey, I will let Shashwat do the talking. Good afternoon, Shashwat.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here, Nimish.
Thank you. Shashwat, I'm glad that you are here in this lovely city of Lisbon, where we are holding the second edition of PayTech, as I mentioned earlier. It's a global partner that Ingenico holds and a forum where you can have the technology and the partners coming together. My first question to you is, how did it all start?
Yeah, so Nimish, as a college student, we were visiting lots of shopkeepers, lots of merchants, interacted with hundreds of them. And we clearly saw a gap in the market where there was no company catering to these merchants specifically. And there were two pain points. One, they didn't like paying any kinds of fees or commissions on transactions. Second, they wanted finance to grow their business for their working capital requirements, but neither banks or the non-banking finance institutions were willing to give loans to them because it's traditionally considered as a risky segment in India, and there is very little view of his transactions, his business, which a bank can have or underwrite. And that's where we saw a clear opportunity that this is something that can be very big. There is no company who are catering to these tens of millions of small merchants, as you know, in India. And that's where we started BharatPe with a vision of building a merchant network on top of zero commission, zero fees on payments, and then earning on interest and lending to these merchants based on.
So when you say zero fees, it's basically zero MDR, as you say in India, merchant discount rate, or a zero MSF, as we call in other parts of the geography, merchant service fee.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. How did you go about having this whole ecosystem developed? I mean, what are the challenges that you faced in developing this ecosystem? What is it that you did in terms of growing this ecosystem? In a span of 3 years, you have been able to grow your merchant base to 150,000. So what is it that you have done in terms of, creating this ecosystem?
I think the only differentiation would be a focus and clarity, that we want to be just limited to this offline merchant space. We would never earn money on payments, no matter how big the payments grow. And we would only earn money by lending to these merchants, and our commitment to give finance to these merchants. I think we are the only company who's doing all of these things combined in India, and I think that is what has been the differentiation. And we always keep merchant first. Every new product that we make, it's basically some kind of requirement from merchant or some feedback that we've heard in the market. And we work very closely with our merchant partners, and I think that is what has been transformed into our success.
And that I think is a very, very key differentiation, because I've heard from grapevine that you are so zealot focused on your merchant base that you have crafted a program wherein you are going to give ESOP to your merchants, not just to your employees. Is it true? Can you shed a little bit more light on that?
Yeah, so there is a plan for that. We are planning to give stock options to our merchant partners, and we are truly very proud to make that program live, not in this financial year, but the next year. But after that, our merchants would also be owners of BharatPe and will be building an ecosystem for merchants by merchants.
That's really nice, and that's really very, very commendable. So, Shashwat, we actually, BharatPe and Ingenico announced a strategic partnership for the next few years, over the next 5 years, in fact, wherein we are going to work very closely. So I would like to understand, what drove you to work with Ingenico, and how has your journey been thus far in your interaction with Ingenico?
Yes, so I'll give a bit of context there. We started with our QR code UPI solution, where you scan a QR code and the payment gets instantly transferred. It's interoperable, free of any kind of commission, any charges. And we grew the network on top of that for a year. After that, we started experimenting with our lending, underwriting and all of that. It again was a success. Just in 2020, 2 years after we started BharatPe, we were looking to get a larger view of merchants' digital transactions, leave aside the cash part, but the UPI QR code part, but we were not getting view on their card acceptance piece, and that's where we started venturing into POS business. For a year, we distributed a Linux POS with keypad, and after that we realized that there is a real demand for Android devices. And again, on POS business, we don't charge any kind of fees, so we were looking for as low as cost as possible, and therefore multiple bank partners and negotiating with them and all of that. And we were looking for a partner for that. And right that time, you and your team approached that we are building this payment platform as a service kind of a software, and it will have all kinds of multiple banks, different services which can be catered to the merchants ecosystem. And that's where I think we saw a clear sort of solution to what we were looking for. The idea is to any new product that comes for merchant ecosystem can be launched into this Android terminal, which would be there, because merchants don't want to use their app and pull out their Android phone. It's always better to have on the Android terminal, and that's where we saw a clear synergy with Ingenico.
And our Android terminal, you mean the Axiom as well as, Axiom range of smart Android devices, right?
Yes.
And incidentally, PPAS is not just a platform wherein you can have multiple payment ecosystem providers, but it's also an ecosystem play wherein you would have different services onboarded onto the platform. I do know that you have your own BNPL PostPay, and that's one of the reasons why PPAS could be a great initiative for BharatPe, wherein PostPay could become a part of the service into the whole ecosystem. So tell us a bit more about what PostPay is and what your vision is of PostPay.
Yeah, so PostPay was started by having this thinking that India is now fully transformed into a QR first payment mode kind of an economy, where everywhere people are paying through QR codes and UPI. Now this whole UPI ecosystem is 100% on debit. There's no credit on QR codes, and that's where our thought was to give credit line to our consumers of PostPay, which can be used at least at BharatPe QR codes. And with PPAS, it sort of not limit our universe to BharatPe merchants, but wherever PPAS partners are there with other companies, other merchant partners, PostPay can be accepted as a service, and that is something that will unlock a huge value.
So Shashwat, you have created something so big at such a young age. I believe you're going to turn 24 in the next couple of months. What next for you, and what is your vision of BharatPe going forward?
With PostPay, as I said, it just got started. We're looking at 150 million kind of volumes every month on credit limits, but there's huge potential. It's a different business line, consumer business vertical. It has to grow at its own pace. We are also a 50% financial investor in a bank called Unity Small Finance Bank, which would again is shaping up to be India's first truly digital bank, and that has its own potential and lots of synergies are there. With BharatPe's core merchant business, and I am very proud to say that we are planning to be profitable by end of this financial year, and it's if we are just able to do that, and the plan is already in place, then we'll be the first fintech out of India to be profitable, and we'll be very proud to be at that place.
Congratulations so much, Shashwat, and we come to an end of this great session that we have with us. It's been an honor having you on this stage, and thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.